And so, caller, thank you for being patient. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Jean from Texas.
Hi, Miss Jean from Texas. I saw the 512. How are you?
I am fine.
Very good. What is the question for our rabbi?
Well, the longer I'm listening to him, the more questions I have. But,
What's the most number one question you got? We'll take a couple from you, and if we have time without other callers, we'll go and answer more.
Okay. The thing I'm wrestling the most with is, who was Jesus? Is it possible that he rose from the dead? Is there any extra biblical mention of him? And how did Christianity explode so much and turn the world upside down?
I'm going to say something. Please don't be offended, but I know you want it straight. You don't want applesauce answers. You want the straight answer. So number one, the only people who asked me that question, I'll never forget, I was teaching in Philadelphia, and after I gave a lecture on Bethlehem and so on, it was after, like, a man came over to me. He thanked me 100 times for the program, and I was very grateful that he introduced himself to me. And he asked me a question, so tell me, who really then was Jesus? Okay, I know he's not the Messiah, I know he's not any of these things, but so who was he, right? So I turned to him. I never met him in my life. Very sweet man. I could see him in front of my eyes like it was yesterday, even though it was many years ago. So I said to him, it was a very striking question, and I said to him, the only person who would ever ask such a question, that's not how I framed it. I said to him, at one time, you were a Christian, right? And he looked at me and like, because he was at the time, he was, dressed as a traditional Jew. And he said, how did you know? I said, only a former Christian would ever ask such a question. No person who was not a former Christian would ever ask such a question. Now, that's not a criticism, my sweetheart. Listen to me. It's not a criticism. What's really going on is people want to know. You see, people spend their lives, their Christian lives, in love with Jesus. And this is very important. For those who are not Christians, just take my word for it. With all the verses and all the proof texts and all the pamphlets, it's not why Christians are Christians. Christians are Christians for one reason. They love Jesus, and they believe that Jesus died for their sins and rose on the third day, and if they believe in him, the worst fear they have, death, has now receded. So, and the other thing is that loving Jesus means that you could talk to Jesus and pray to Jesus your whole Christian life. And it's like, no matter what, your boyfriend could run away from you, your friend could cut you off and block your phone calls, but Jesus is always there. He's your friend always to talk to. But just understand this, that even though we engage in examining texts, which are very important, but the reason why Christians are Christians and what does it mean to be a Christian, if you don't believe me, please go over to a nice Christian where it's appropriate and ask, what does it mean to be a Christian? Why are you a Christian? You're going to get this answer. They're not going to tell you Isaiah 53. The missionary will tell you that there's some cognitive reason because of a passage. Forget that stuff. Okay? That's used later to affirm that what the Christian believes is true by quoting texts out of context and so on. No Christian believes in Jesus because of Isaiah 53. That's nonsense. You'll be told that on YouTube, but it's not true at all. Christians are Christians because they love Jesus. And none of that, everyone else pretty much has betrayed me, but Jesus won't. He died for my sins, and therefore, by believing in him, I'm saved, but he is mine. I've been praying to him my whole life. Now, what happens? A person at some stage of their life begin to realize not that there are mistakes in the New Testament. Contrary to what anyone will ever tell you, I have not met a Christian who left the church because they felt that two gospels had a contradiction between John and Matthew that was irreconcilable, and they said, I'm not a Christian anymore. If you believe that, you're living in another world, and you don't approach Christians with such things, because they're going, all right, who cares? That's not important to them. But many Christians, Hashem will work in their heart, and at some stage in their lives as a Christian, they are gripped by the children of Israel. Their eyes begin to fill with light from Torah. At some point, they connect to the Jewish people because of maybe the horrors that the Jewish people faced, and it causes them to become healed, to turn to God, just because they see what Israel's up against. It touches them, it does. But for whatever reason, there's a Pesach, an opening, a doorway that opens up to them, and they discover not that there's mistakes in the New Testament. No Christian leaves because of a mistake. But what they discover is that they've been lied to. That in fact, these are not just, maybe it was a scribal error, no. In fact, the Christian Bible and later Christian teachings are completely opposed by teaching the Jewish scriptures, and most importantly, that the authors of the Christian Bible altered the text, not like Matthew of how many donkeys did Jesus ride into Jerusalem on, not that, okay? That doesn't, they'd like an answer, but they have little books for that. Pamphlets you can get in any Christian bookstore. They want to know how is it that Matthew and Hebrews and Paul literally change it. And when they realize that it just becomes there's no way that he is the Messiah, they start to study the Jewish Bible and then examine the claims of the church, and they realize that they are utterly incompatible. It's not like just a different spin orientation. There is nothing. I mean, the Haftarah this week, we were reading Jeremiah 7 with my congregation in Jakarta, and as I was reading them, Jeremiah chapter 7, we were studying it together, a chapter that nearly got the prophet killed, literally nearly got him killed. They were shocked out of their mind. And I said to them, and they will believe me, just trust me, there are many ex-pastors in my congregation. In fact, if you're not an ex-pastor, you can't even join. I'm joking, but there's a lot of them. They know that. I asked them, did you ever study Jeremiah 7 in church? Ever hear this preached? Never, not in a million years. So what happens is that Christians at some stage discover, especially those who blessed Israel, seems maybe, I don't know, but it seems to me that when Christians bless Israel, God begins to work in their lives. He brings light into their lives. And that's why you see that the vast majority of those who convert to Judaism straight away are evangelicals, not Roman Catholics. There are Roman Catholics, but that's not the majority. Are evangelicals, and the majority of people who were in the Messianic movement and who blessed Israel. And for whatever reason, I can't tell you God came to me in a dream, but this is the way it's going. The Greek Orthodox Christians are not, there are some that convert to Judaism, but this is not the norm. So what happens is the following. When people ask the question, okay, so now I know he's not the Messiah, and now I know he's not the Son of God in some Christological sense. We're all children of God. Jesus is as much a child of God, no less a child of God than I am. We're all children of God, but a son of God in the Christological sense, they know this is nonsense. Now they have a problem. They have a very big problem, because they now had everything worked out. They got they had a Jesus file, and it was under Messiah, Son of God, second person of the triune Godhead. Okay, and that's where he was. If you want to find it, you go on your computer, you double click on God, and then you find the three persons, you double click on Jesus, and then you have all your file of Jesus. And now there's a problem. What do I do with this file? Do I put it in the recycling bin and clean my recycling bin and reformat my hard drive, so therefore any vestige is gone? Or, Rabbi, you don't get it. This is what's really going on. And for anyone I've offended, I pray I haven't offended anyone, but I'm giving you this straight. This is a big, big issue. The people are asking essentially, look, I filed him under, I love Jesus, he's the Messiah who died for my sins, and resurrected for and resurrected for me, and he was my best friend. I've been talking to him for 60 years. So how do I file him? The question isn't about who really is Jesus. Because if you really want to know who, so yes, why don't you ask me, so who really was Hare Krishna, okay? What was Buddha really like? Tell me, did he enjoy baseball? What was the real Buddha? How come you don't ask who Krishna was or Zoroaster was? How come Jesus? The reason is you never had a relationship with Krishna. Never had so therefore you don't have to refile him. It was always something that was unholy, not of God, and therefore you don't need to refile him. The real question that's being asked is that, how do I get rid of this relationship? And the way to get rid of it, the easy way is, instead of deleting it like an old relationship, an old boyfriend, can I put him in the Redivium file? If I could put him under great rabbi, prophet, nice person, good preacher, so then it won't harm me. He was a nice person, he was misunderstood, and the teaching of the church today is completely aberrant, and they just misunderstood the guy and presented him as the second person of the triune Godhead. If I could do that, that'll be great. And this is a very grave danger, because the Torah says, actually, Torah anticipates this and says that don't do that. Because there's only really one question that matters. If any idol, whether it's Baal, who is Baal really like? No one cares. If he's not a god, then what difference does it make who he is? You don't want to be, but it's like an old girlfriend. You know, you're there, it's an old boyfriend. You're there with your husband in the marital chamber, and your husband, and then for a moment your brain gets distracted, and then you start to wonder, I wonder what my old boyfriend's doing. What is it? He's dating somebody else. Who is he dating? And you wouldn't dare tell your husband what he's thinking, because if he would find out that you're sitting and daydreaming about your ex, he'd be very, very hurt. And you would be, a woman would be very hurt if her spouse was sitting and daydreaming about his ex. Well, so therefore, the Torah says, there's a passage in Torah that you're not allowed to even think about it. It should not, it should not even be found on your mouth. And you have to really ask Hashem, oh Lord, would it be that this abomination could leave me, that I should not think about it. It's not relevant. The truth, now, I could give you some professor answer. There are no contemporaneous historians that wrote a word about him. Nothing, zilch, zero, nothing. We don't have anything, okay? So there's no, non-Christian, there's no one. We don't have anybody. So, of course but to the Jew, we're asking, I'll tell you a funny thing. On the back of one of Jews for Jesus' books, the books they used to convert people, they actually, the founder of Jews for Jesus, Rosen, was a very in-your-face kind of guy. And he actually writes in the book, look, why did Jews go around saying, we don't think he was, Jews go around going, we don't think he's the Messiah, the Son of God, but he was probably a great rabbi. Maybe he was a Reform rabbi or this rabbi. But he was like, so Christians don't even get that. So he even says, look, he either is or isn't. So the truth is, Rosen was right. If he's not the Mashiach, do you think God wants you to occupy your mind for one moment with that? If he wasn't God manifested in the flesh, then it's a complete abomination, and a person should run away from it. There is, as it turns out, we know a lot about Joseph Smith. We do. We have a lot of contemporaneous information about the man. We do. We don't have anything remotely about Jesus that's non-Christian until the first century has really come to a close. So therefore, and whoever wrote about him was not alive when he was around. So the answer is I'd be making stuff up if I told you. What Christian scholars try to do in their quest for the real Jesus, I didn't do it, but I guarantee you, if you do a search on Amazon, you'll get a quest for the historical Jesus. Believe me, you'll have pages and pages. Why is there such a quest? Because no one knows what the heck is there so much missing. All you have is this late Christian spin. The Gospels are written when? 30, 40, 50, 60 years after when Christians say is the crucifixion. You start from Mark and end with John, talking from talking from 35 years to 60 years later, at least. So, therefore, we have zero. We have nothing. And contrary to what's taught in the churches, the Gospels are not written by eyewitnesses or disciples, or the names that are ascribed to them. And the person really who's responsible for that was a man from what is today Turkey, but he was the Archbishop of Lyon, and Irenaeus, who was a very important Christian theologian. He's the one who clearly ascribes what we know today as the four Gospels as those four Gospels. That's in the year 180, 150 years. These are Catholic ascriptions. So we have nothing, but that's not the real answer. If I would sit and tell you that Papias is nonsense, we don't even have Papias, I'm wasting your time. If I would tell you that Justin doesn't even mention, who the Gospels are. Why not? He's quoting stuff all over. He doesn't mention the Gospel names. Why doesn't he? Because they didn't have the ascriptions yet. That's not a real answer. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's not important. If I tell you, Justin never quoted Paul, you go, really? He didn't? He's one of the most important second century church fathers. It's not important. Don't be distracted by that. What you must know is this. You have to say, what does my Ziza Tata want? What does my sweet father want? Hashem wants you to be thinking about your old spouse, your old boyfriend? No. No, he wants you to be pure of mind. He wants to clean yourself, watch yourself. So it says in Isaiah, touch nothing unclean. But the reason why Christians are asking this, you need to know this. I'm not going to lie to you. They want to know, what do I do with him? I need to file him. I spent 60 years talking to him since I'm 4 years old. I know now he's not the Messiah, and I was talking to nobody. I need something. Tell me he was like a nice teacher who was widely misunderstood. I can't do that because you didn't call in to listen to that kind of stuff. But the truth is, you need to say, would it be, Lord, that I should not think about any other gods, that the memory shouldn't be on my mind, I shouldn't think about them because I want to praise you and raise up your name alone. I want to kiss me with the kisses of our lips, for thy love is better than wine. I want to kiss you. I don't want to think about an old relationship that I should have never been inside. So that's the real answer, my holy brothers and sisters.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא